The house was too quiet the night everything began to feel wrong. Emily Parker stood at the top of the stairs, listening to the soft hum of the refrigerator and the wind brushing the trees outside. She had lived in this house her whole life. Yet that night it felt unfamiliar, like a place holding secrets it did not want to name. She took a slow breath and told herself she was just tired. Still, her heart beat faster for reasons she could not explain. Her father, Daniel Parker, was in the kitchen, standing by the sink with his sleeves rolled up. He looked older than Emily remembered from her childhood, though he was only 46. The years after her mother's death had left quiet lines on his face and a heaviness in his eyes. Emily watched him from a distance, feeling a tight pull in her chest. She loved her father. She always had. But lately, the feeling came with confusion that scared her. Daniel had raised Emily alone since she was 11. Her mother, Laura, had died suddenly from a heart condition, leaving a hole in both of them that never fully closed. Daniel became both parents at once. He packed lunches, helped with homework, and sat in the front row at every school event. Emily grew up leaning on him for everything. Maybe too much, she thought now. Emily was 21 and home from college for the summer. She had imagined the break would feel easy, like old times. Instead, each day brought a strange mix of comfort and tension. Being near her father made her feel safe, yet restless. She hated herself for noticing small things, how tired he looked after work, how gentle his voice sounded when he asked if she had eaten, how the house seemed to revolve around him. These thoughts made her feel ashamed, and she pushed them down, telling herself they meant nothing. Daniel turned when he heard her step on the stair. "You're still up?" he asked, drying his hands with a towel. "I couldn't sleep," Emily said. Her voice sounded too soft to her own ears. He nodded. "Me neither. Want some tea?" She agreed and sat at the kitchen table. The chair felt too close to him when he joined her, placing 2 mugs between them. The light above the table cast warm shadows, making the moment feel too personal. Emily wrapped her hands around the mug, staring at the steam. "How's college?" Daniel asked. "You don't talk about it much." "It's fine," she said quickly. "It's busy." He studied her for a second. "You seem different this summer." Her stomach tightened. "Different how? Quieter?" he said. "Like something's on your mind." Emily forced a small smile. "Just tired." Daniel didn't push. He never did. That was part of the problem. He respected her space so much that it made her feel alone with her thoughts. She wished he would say something that would break the tension. But he only sipped his tea and looked away. Later that night, Emily lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her mind replayed the scene in the kitchen again and again. She hated herself for the warmth she felt just sitting across from him. It was wrong. She knew it was wrong. Love should not feel like this. She rolled onto her side and pressed her face into the pillow, wishing sleep would come. The next morning moved fast. Daniel left early for work, and Emily stayed home, trying to distract herself. She cleaned the house, went for a run, and called a friend from college, but nothing helped. Every thought seemed to circle back to her father. By afternoon, she felt sick with guilt. That evening, Daniel came home later than usual. He looked worn out. His shoulders slumped as he dropped his keys on the counter. Emily watched him from the living room, her chest tightening again. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah," he said with a tired smile. "Mind if we just order pizza tonight?" She nodded. They ate in front of the TV like they used to when she was younger. The familiarity should have felt normal, but Emily's nerves were tight. When Daniel laughed at a joke on the screen, she found herself watching his face instead of the show. The realization hit her hard, like cold water. She stood up suddenly. "I think I'm going to bed. So early?" he asked. "Just tired," she said again, hating the lie. In her room, Emily paced back and forth. She knew she needed to face what was happening inside her. Avoiding it was making things worse. She opened her laptop and stared at a blank document, then closed it. Writing felt impossible. Talking felt worse. Days passed like this. Short talks, long silences. Emily felt like she was holding her breath all the time. Daniel noticed the distance growing between them and didn't understand why. He blamed himself, wondering if he had become too strict, too distant, or not involved enough. He had no idea that Emily's struggle had nothing to do with him as a person, but with her own confusion. One afternoon, Daniel suggested they go for a drive. Just like old times, he said. Get some ice cream. Emily almost said no, but something in his hopeful tone made her agree. They drove with the windows down, the summer air warm and loud. For a moment, Emily felt like a child again, safe and carefree. Then the feelings shifted, and the guilt rushed back. At the ice cream shop, Daniel talked about his work and joked about how bad he was with technology. Emily laughed, but inside she felt like she was breaking. She realized she was afraid of losing him, afraid of growing up, afraid that her feelings meant something dark about her. On the drive home, Daniel grew quiet. Emily, he said carefully, eyes on the road, did I do something wrong? Heart pounded. What? No? You've been pulling away, he said. If I crossed a line or made you uncomfortable, I need to know. The words hit her like a punch. Tears burned her eyes. No, Dad, you didn't do anything. He glanced at her, concern deepening. Then what is it? She shook her head. I can't talk about it. Daniel respected her silence, but it hurt him more than he let on. He had spent years trying to protect her, and now he felt locked out of her world. That night, Emily finally cried. She cried for her mother, for her father, and for herself. She understood then that her feelings were not love in the way she feared. They were tangled emotions born from loss, closeness, and fear of change. Still, understanding did not make them disappear. She made a decision. She needed space. Not because her father was the problem, but because she needed to find herself without leaning on him so much the next morning. Emily told Daniel she was thinking of going back to campus early. His face fell, but he nodded. That's what you need, he said softly, as she packed her bag later that day. Emily paused, listening to her father moving around downstairs. Her decision felt right, yet painful. She knew leaving would not solve everything, but it was a start. What Emily did not know was that Daniel, standing alone in the kitchen, was about to make a decision of his own, one that would change the fragile balance between them forever. Emily left the house before sunrise. The car was packed, the road empty, and her chest felt tight with every mile. She did not look back when she pulled away. She told herself this was what growing up looked like, leaving even when it hurt. Campus welcomed her with noise and movement. Friends hugged her, classes started, and days filled quickly. Still, nights were hard. Emily lay awake, thinking of the quiet kitchen, the old couch, and her father's careful voice. She missed him, but she also felt lighter, as if distance had loosened a knot inside her. Daniel felt the house change the moment Emily left. Silence spread through the rooms again, but this time it was different. It was not the quiet of grief. Like after Laura died, it was the quiet of letting go. He walked through the house, touching small things: Millie's mug, her jacket by the door, then stopped himself. He knew holding on too tightly would only hurt them both. He made his decision. That same week, Daniel called a therapist, something he had avoided for years. He told himself he was doing it for Emily, but deep down he knew he needed it too. He had spent so long being strong that he forgot how to feel honestly. Emily threw herself into school. She joined a study group, started running again, and took a part-time job at a bookstore. The routine helped. Being around people her age reminded her that her life was moving forward. Slowly, the confusion that once scared her began to fade. What remained was sadness, but it felt cleaner, easier to carry. Daniel and Emily talked on the phone once a week. Their conversations were short at first, careful and polite. They talked about weather, classes, work. Neither mentioned the tension that once filled the house. Yet each call ended with the same words: I love you, Daniel said. Love you. To Dad, Emily answered, and this time it felt simple again. One evening, Emily stayed late at the bookstore. A customer named Ryan struck up a conversation while she shelved books. He was kind, awkward, and easy to talk to. They spoke about novels, music, and college stress. When he asked if she wanted coffee sometime, Emily surprised herself by saying, yes. The date was simple. Coffee, laughter, and a long walk through the city. Emily felt nervous but alive. For the first time in months, her heart raced in a way that made sense. She went home smiling, then stopped herself, feeling guilty. She realized the guilt was old fear, not truth. She'll let it go. Daniel's therapy sessions were harder than he expected. He talked about Laura, about raising Emily alone, about how his whole identity became being her father. The therapist helped him see that love could turn heavy when mixed with fear. Daniel learned that letting Emily grow did not mean losing her. A few weeks later, Daniel met Sarah at a community event. She was warm, calm, and honest. They talked, easily sharing stories about work and life. Daniel felt something open inside him that had been closed for years. He went home surprised, not guilty. Emily and Daniel both changed without realizing how much. When Emily visited home during fall break, the house felt different, lighter. Daniel had cleaned out old boxes and painted the living room. Emily noticed photos of her mother placed gently on a shelf, not hidden away. They hugged when she arrived, a real hug, not rushed or awkward. Emily felt safe again, but not trapped. Over dinner, Daniel told her about therapy. Emily listened, proud of him. Then he mentioned Sarah carefully, as if afraid of her reaction. I'm glad, Emily said, and she meant it. You deserve happiness. Daniel's eyes softened. So do you. That night, Emily slept peacefully for the first time in months. The house no longer felt like a place holding secrets. It felt like home again. When Emily returned to campus, life moved fast. Her relationship with Ryan grew slowly, built on trust and laughter. She learned what healthy affection felt like: balanced, free, and safe. The confusion she once feared felt distant now. It's like a shadow that disappeared in daylight. Daniel continued seeing Sarah, taking things slow. He learned how to be a man again, not just a father. Therapy helped him understand that loving Emily meant trusting her to live her own life. Winter came, then spring. Emily finished the year strong, proud of herself. On graduation day, Daniel stood in the crowd cheering louder than anyone. When Emily hugged him afterward, the moment felt right, pure. I couldn't have done this without you, Emily said. Daniel smiled. You did it yourself. As they stood together, Emily realized something important. Love did not always mean holding on. Sometimes it meant stepping back, trusting growth, and allowing change. The past no longer haunted her. It had shaped her, taught her, and then let her go. And as father and daughter walked forward into their separate lives, their bond remained strong, not broken, not confused, but healed.